I've recently finished this Italian book, La cucina italiana non esiste. Bugie e falsi miti sui prodotti e piatti cosiddetti tipici by Daniele Soffiati and Alberto Grandi. If you saw my book haul community post, this is the one I said might be a little controversial. I have a lot more to say about this book than I usually do. So, buckle up. First, we'll just deal with the reading side of it. Is this easy to read? Well, there is quite a lot of specialist language about food and farming and poverty and famine, but in general I'd say it's not what I would call as easy, but perhaps a minimum of an intermediate level of reading. It is very detailed on its subject, and there is from time to time some repetition. But the thing that surprised me most about the writing was the level of sarcasm and humour contained within it. I'd never really thought about whether or not Italians were sarcastic, and I'm still not sure they are, as a rule. Obviously, not everyone in a place is one thing, but the authors of this book have more than their fair share. I'll put some examples of this at the end. If you're not someone who understands sarcasm, though, don't worry. There's plenty that's just straightforward telling of the facts, and not getting the sarcasm won't affect what you're reading. Now, onto the content. This book partly exists because Italy has been trying to get its traditional cuisine as a whole recognised by UNESCO under the Intangible Cultural Heritage Register, which is basically for things which aren't physical, such as skills and traditions. The majority of the book is debunking the fact that there is a long tradition in Italian cooking. Long story short, most of it has only existed as anything close to traditional since World War II, and the basis of it is from far and wide, a large part through immigration to the US of A. Yes, that's very simplified, but you'll need to read the book if you want to find out how. Anyway, this thing about many traditions being a bit of a stretch, and that's putting it mildly, is what I have personally come to believe about many of them over the years, in all countries. With regards to traditional food, most of the dishes are the food of the rich, and the ones that aren't weren't nearly as well made as they now are. Not even the ingredients are the same. I mean, if you think about the traditional British Sunday lunch, it isn't the same meal, even from house to house. Different roast meat or alternative, different veggies, Yorkshire puds or not, bread sauce or not. It's an idea, not a specific dish. Back to the book. It goes into great detail about how specific foods were eaten in the past and their current version, alongside their originally poor nutritional content. Obviously, people eat a lot more healthily now. I mean, there's the Mediterranean diet, isn't there? That's traditional, at least for the region, if not for Italy by itself. No, not really. The Mediterranean diet isn't a thing that actually exists. Even the person who made it up apparently stated that it wasn't when they invented it. Yes, invented it. I did actually know this wasn't a real thing, but didn't know all the details. Of course, Italians do have access to healthy fruit and veg in abundance because of their warmer climate. But have you watched any Italian cookery channels? Tons of butter and cheese and oil, just like many other Western diets. But what about individual dishes? Again, there is a lot of detail on this, but I learned that there is something officially called the pizza effect, not just for Italian food, as a general term. It's described thus. The pizza effect is a process whereby an element of a culture is transported elsewhere. So, for example, through emigration, where it undergoes a radical transformation. In its new form, it returns to its original setting, taking the place of the original. Turns out, a lot of Italian dishes went through this transformation. What are the Italian dishes that are famed the world over and imitated in your local trattoria, and probably not made in traditional ways. You know, lasagna, bolognese, etc. These were dishes that tourists ate when staying at hotels in a particularly popular region of Italy. Dishes that the cooks could most easily make and had on rotation. This is what most of the world sees as Italian cuisine. And some of these dishes weren't even invented in Italy. When I think back to my childhood, well, one, I remember seeing the BBC Spaghetti Tree April Fool's joke, 1957, being reshown on, I think it was Blue Peter. This famous prank is mentioned in the book and was actually filmed in Switzerland. Apparently, lots of people phoned in to see where they could buy a spaghetti tree. This may seem ridiculous, and I saw it many years after it happened, but I can believe it. The first memory I have of Italian food is having the newfangled frozen convenience food version of a lasagna, alongside Black Forest Gatto, of course. My God, that was ridiculously popular, but not Italian, of course. I think we had a version of spaghetti bolognese. No, I'm not pronouncing that in an Italian way. It was no way an Italian recipe. I don't remember actually cooking pasta from scratch until I was a student, because by then it was an easy and cheap way to feed yourself. But I feel that it was usually spaghetti. I don't think we had a wide selection of types of pasta. When it comes down to it, Italian food hasn't been a thing in this country for all that long, and that tallies with the story told in the book. Italian food wasn't exported until technology made it possible, such as freezing. Anyway, I was pleasantly surprised to find that the authors do talk a little about the future. In other words, a world with less meat, and how animals are treated in industrial production, and the impact on the environment. As I understand it from other things I've read, the take-up of vegan or even vegetarian food in Italy is meeting more resistance than in some other countries. Of course, as I said up front, this lack of true tradition isn't just for Italian cuisine. It's pretty much all cuisine. Things change, get updated, new ingredients are added. Technology changes things. Nothing is the same as it was in the medieval times. You wouldn't like it if it were. So, we all, not just Italians, need to let go of the traditional thing and accept that change is just part of life in everything. Anyway, if you're still watching, here are some of those amusing quotes in lieu of a single passage. I have paraphrased some of these a lot. So, this comes from the blurb. Quando Gualtiero Marchesi, considerato il fondatore della nuova cucina italiana negli anni 90, consigliava di mettere la panna nella carbonara. A nessuno veniva in mente di scatenare autentiche guerre di religione, come avviene oggi. When Gualtiero Marchesi, considered to be the founder of the new Italian cuisine, in the 90s advised putting cream in a carbonara, nobody thought of starting a real religious war, as happens today. Yeah, back to those Italian cookery videos. Carbonara absolutely, positively, does not have cream in it, is something I've definitely heard Italians say. Not using those words, though. Stevenson ci ha insegnato che si può scrivere una storia nella quale all'interno della stessa narrazione il protagonista non è mai esistito. E noi italiani abbiamo imparato talmente bene l'insegnamento dello scrittore inglese che lo abbiamo imitato alla perfezione con la dieta mediterranea, che è un po' il capitano Flint della nostra cucina. So this is referring to Robert Louis Stevenson and Captain Flint in Treasure Island. Stevenson taught us that you can write a story within which the protagonist never existed, and we Italians have learnt so well the teachings of this English writer that we have imitated him perfectly with the Mediterranean diet, which is a little bit like the Captain Flint of our cuisine. Il Parmigiano Reggiano di Boccaccio, Napoleone e Don Camillo. Senza dimenticare il Wisconsin. The Parmigiano Reggiano of Boccaccio, Napoleon, and Don Camillo, without forgetting Wisconsin. Bari, provincia di Tokyo. Bari, province of Tokyo. Perché, come tutti sanno, la salsiccia nata a Francoforte sul Meno ha sempre fatto parte della dieta mediterranea. Because, as everyone knows, the sausage born in Frankfurt am Main has always been a part of the Mediterranean diet. This is talking about the abbreviation EVO, EVO. Alzi la mano chi, almeno la prima volta, non ha impiegato un po' per capire che si trattava dell'acronimo di Extra Vergine d'Olivia. Put up your hand if at least the first time it taxed your brain a little to work out that this was the acronym for extra virgin olive oil. And finally, se tutti I pistacchi che ci sono in giro per il mondo provenissero effettivamente da Bronte, la Sicilia sarebbe grande come l'Australia. If all the pistachios around the world originated from Bronte, Sicily would be as big as Australia.